Hello everyone, welcome to my Session 10 Teaching Memo and Session 11 Introduction. I hope you're all rested and rejuvenated after your Thanksgiving weekend and are ready to finish the semester strong. Dr. Laura and I had dinner at her parents' house. Actually, it was her sister's house. Where's her sister live? Lives in near Schenectady, New York. Dwaynesburg. Wow, my mind went blank there. Dwaynesburg, New York. It's kind of in the boonies, close to Route 88 and a little west of Schenectady. Dr. Laura has a pretty big family. She has 4 siblings and 9 nieces and nephews. Not all of them were there, but most of them were. So it's pretty crowded. Laura and I, who usually don't watch movies, saw 2 good movies last week. We went with Laura's daughter, who came home for Thanksgiving, and saw The Man Who Invented Christmas. It's a cute tale of Charles Dickens writing A Christmas Carol and how he struggled with that process and all the things that got in his way. So it was pretty neat, and how he financed it, the printing of it himself. And went into debt big time. And Mudbound. Mudbound we watched on Netflix, and I would say it's going to be an Oscar nominee for Best Picture. And I guess it's in theaters as well. I never heard of a movie being on an HBO or Netflix or a Hulu and then being out in the movies at the same time. But Mudbound is one of those. And I'd recommend watching it. It's very moving and it's very disturbing, but very well done. Okay, enough of that. Housekeeping. The semester is quickly ending. This is the next to the last session. The semester ends on December 14th, which is a Thursday. So the last session is a little longer. It's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 days, I think. So you have a little bit more time to finish things up. Everyone should check their grades and see if you're missing anything. Many of you, not many, but there are several people who didn't do the special ed assignments way back in session 2. So go back into session 2 and click on the presentation folder. And there are quizzes embedded in those presentations. While the selected response test discussion board, the revised selected response test discussion board has ended, I'm not going to close it because there are several people who have either not posted their revised tests for others to take, or they have not taken your tests. And that's crucial because to do your part 1 of the 3-part analytic summary, you have to analyze your test results. And I have exemplars that show you how to do that. So please check back during this session to make sure somebody hasn't posted their revised test. And if you're one of those people who hasn't posted your revised test, you're looking for trouble because people have moved on and no one's going to take your test. But they will, because they're going to watch this teaching memo and say, oh, I got to go back and check to see if anybody posted late. Plus, there's people that posted last night, Sunday night, late, and so you have to go back and take those tests too. So, if people are not taking your test, you can go into the course tools menu, into the tools communication menu, which is it's right here, tools communication, and you scroll down to send email, and you can send email to anybody in this way. If you put select users, you can see that you can take anyone that's in the course, click on it, click on this arrow, and you'll see that you can send that person an email. So that's what you can do if you have not had somebody take your test. Email them and ask them, please go back, look in the discussion board, the revise select and response test discussion board and take my revised test, please. You can beg them. Okay, so that's one thing that you have to do. I've graded all the double entry journals that have been submitted, and if you haven't submitted it, and several of you haven't, it's going to be a while before I get to it, because now I'm on to grading something else. So that's something you're going to have to check back on. Some of the DEJs were excellent, connected to my presentation as well as to many of the other test prep materials, including session 10 materials that were on engaging ways to do test prep, stress relief, relieving test anxiety, etc., etc. So this is an important topic. As I mentioned in my presentation, ignorance of the two principles can get you fired. And even if an administrator is forcing you to do mindless previous form tests, you can get around that. Embed those questions into your course the whole year round, and tell your principal that, look, I agree with you, but doing that is going to really take away from my instruction. I've embedded those questions in those tests all year long, and you can show them, and you can actually talk to your principal about this session that we've just done, and say, hey, check out these resources and see if you change your mind about how we should be doing test prep. Let me talk a little bit about session 10. The session discussion board is off to a good start. Formative assessment and appropriate grading practices. Remember, this discussion board closes on Sunday at midnight, and then you can't post anymore. So there's plenty of time to get in your 6 posts on 3 separate days. Grading practices can be what I call ego-based. For instance, in my 640-20 section, Jenna reported that her school will only give students a grade of 70. The highest grade they can get is a 70 if they handwork in late. And they give them up to the end of the semester, I guess, to hand it in. Then they give a 0. This feels right, doesn't it? Yeah. Students need to be responsible. Yes. Yet in my class, I do not deduct points for work handed in late, and the lowest mark I give is a 50, even if assignment is never handed in. You all know that, but 90 to 95% of you hand your work in on time. Why? Why is that? Aren't you angry that some of your classmates get away with being late, or not being docked for not more severely for not doing assignments at all? The answer is no, because you're more concerned about your own work, and you know about my policy from the beginning. So think about your ego when deciding whether or not you believe what the authors and I shared in these 2 sessions. See if we know what we're talking about. I wanted to share an interesting article, and I'm sharing it here, but you can react to it on the discussion board. And I have it. It's about a Canadian teacher who was suspended. This is a 35-year veteran for giving zeros, for acting in opposition to the school district's policy. So if you read it, you'll get a taste of ego-based rationale for why some teachers believe that giving a 0 will promote accountability and not giving them will encourage laziness and apathy. Notice the language that the author uses in this article. Quote, hurt a student's precious baby feelings. And you're never stupid, you magically special snowflakes. This is a way of writing that you seem to see a lot now, both on the liberal and conservative blogs, of name calling, and that is the ego. If I can call you a name, that makes me better than you. If I can give you a 0, that's because I'm better than you. If I can give you not allow you to do your work because you're lazy and no good, then that makes me better than you. That is the ego in all its glory. I am better than you, you stupid kid. So keep that in mind. Read that article and see how the author talks about this policy, which I think is a great policy, and we had it at Rhinebeck High School, but I could only get it for the first semester. The lowest mark you could give was a 50. And teachers would line up at my door saying, Dr. Tom, Dr. Mawini, please let me give this kid a 30. This is what he deserves. And the answer was no. This is our policy. You can only give a 50. So you're going to dig a kid in the hole after the first semester that he can never dig his way out of. So make sure you watch a lot of the materials I have in the next session, and even have one video in the 12th session. So that's it for my housekeeping and my session 10 teaching memo video. I'll be back with assignments for session 12 as well as for the rest of the semester.